Hunting has been a mainstay in human life since before the coming of Homo sapiens on the evolutionary boulevard of planet Earth. For as long as people have been chasing boars and deer, there have been hilarious, tragic, or outright bizarre hunting incidents recorded in the pages of history. Such incidents are often embarrassing, or even endearing, regarding some rather important figures of history, revealing much about how humans, hunting, and nature interacted in the social, political, and economic realms. In this video, we'll discuss some of the most famous incidents in the history of hunting from all four corners of the world. Along the way, we'll discover just how some of the world's most illustrious civilizations perceived their hunting outings. How did Byzantine emperors die in hunting accidents? How did Mughal and Holy Roman emperors promote natural conservation? And what are the most famous Persian hunting shenanigans? Welcome to our video on history's most famous hunting incidents.
This video is sponsored by you. Unfortunately, the YouTube environment is not great right now, with the algorithm being friendlier to drama and react channels and YouTube being permissive of AI slop. We don't do drama and we don't do AI. But thanks to our members and patrons, our channel continues to make 3 public videos per week, with the team intact and going strong. In recognition of their generosity and contributions, members and patrons receive 2 additional exclusive videos each week, and access many other perks. Join them to watch more than 250 exclusive videos covering every era of history by pressing the join button under the video or the links in the description and pinned comment.
Our first hunting incident takes us to the Golden Realm of Byzantium, the most politically complex empire of the medieval period. Much like their Latin-speaking ancestors, the Eastern Romans placed great importance on hunting, considering it a vital social pursuit for aristocrats and emperors. As a Christian empire, the Byzantines viewed nature as a creation of God, and themselves as its custodians. One of their favorite ways to show this mastery of the natural world was through the staged fights and hunts of animals. When the Arab physician Al-Mazawi visited the Eastern Roman capital of Constantinople in the 12th century CE, he recorded his observations of numerous spectacles, including public fights between lions and bulls, or cheetahs and antelopes. These events were always the talk of the town, attracting nobles and commoners alike. However, the aristocracy and the peasantry within the medieval Roman Empire saw hunting very differently. For the former, hunting was a form of recreation and prestige. For the latter, it was a means of subsistence, especially for those living in rural areas. Several Byzantine emperors are known to have been avid hunters, but the most famous of them belong to the Komnenoi dynasty of the 11th to 12th century CE. It is one of these emperors who had a rather fatal hunting accident. John II Kaloianis, or John the Good, ruled over Byzantium for 25 years and was known for his genocide of the Pechenegs and constant wars with Arabs, Venetians, Hungarians, and Turks. The long reign of Emperor John ended in 1143, when the Byzantines were in the early stages of preparation for a campaign against the city of Antioch, which was under the control of their Catholic Crusader enemies. John was out hunting in the nearby region of Cilicia when he encountered a wild boar. The boar charged at him, and he struck it with his spear under the chest. The animal went berserk and flung the emperor around, thrashing him about so much that his wrist was slashed by a poisoned arrow that he had equipped in his quiver. Immediately, his companions tried to stop the wound from bleeding with a bandage, but nothing could be done about the poison now seeping through the emperor's body. Within a few days, John had begun to weaken from blood poisoning. His doctors tried to help him, but it was all for naught. By April 8th, 1143, the Byzantine emperor assembled the army and urged them to accept his son, Manuel Komnenos, as the new emperor. With that, he passed away in the arms of his weeping heir, who was dressed in imperial garb and proclaimed Emperor of the Romans. John Komnenos was not the first Byzantine emperor to perish at the hands of wildlife. His predecessor, Basil I, had also died in a hunting accident when his belt was caught by a stag's antlers, which dragged him across rough terrain. The story of John reveals a great deal about how even the mightiest emperors can be brought low by some twist of fate. Our next stop on this excursion takes us back over a millennium to the time of ancient Greece in the 5th to 4th century BCE. The ancient Greeks were passionate about hunting, as evidenced in their mythology and art, both of which are filled with rustic scenes of heroes and lovers pursuing wild boars, lions, and even more fantastical animals. The 4th century BCE Athenian mercenary Xenophon even produced a text called the Cynegeticus, a manual on how to hunt and properly manage one's hunting dogs. The Kingdom of Macedon, in particular, appears to have placed great importance on hunting amongst its elites. Because the kingdom was run by an elaborate military aristocracy, whose relations relied on friendship between landowning nobles, kings and their sanctioned friends often used hunting as a preparation for war and to cultivate relations with one another. There is one hunting incident involving a Macedonian king, although it is one with dubious historical value. That is the tale of Alexander's ancestor, King Archelaos I of Macedon, who ruled from 413 to 399 BCE. Archelaos built roads and fortresses, produced coinage of high quality, and also provided Athens with valuable timber to construct its mighty navy. He also invited many Greek intellectuals to his court, like the playwright Euripides. Throughout his busy reign, Archelaos was also said to have been a man who deeply enjoyed hunting, a hobby that ultimately proved fatal for him. According to the traditional account, Archelaos went on a hunt with Craterus, his faithful page and sometimes lover, only to be suddenly and fatally struck by the man with whom he was in a situationship. There are 3 versions as to why this murder happened. One tale says that Craterus did this to become king of Macedon himself. Another says that he was promised the hand of one of Archelaos' daughters in marriage, and then was denied her, making him angry for revenge. A third version merely says that the whole ordeal was an accident, and that Craterus did not mean to strike Archelaos with his weapon. In some versions of the tale, Craterus was working with 2 Thessalians, Decamnikos and Hellanocrates, both of whom were also lovers of the king. Decamnikos is said to have sought revenge on account of being flogged by Euripides on the permission of Archelaos, with the playwright doing this because of the page's bad breath. Whatever the case, the king of Macedon perished on a hunt in a story so fantastical as to almost be a Greek myth itself. The third story about hunting hijinks takes us to the iridescent lands of India during the period of the Mughal Empire, spanning the 16th to 18th centuries CE. The subcontinent has long been a land of hunting, but the Mughal monarchs who ruled it introduced some notable innovations to the practice. The Mughals were a Mongol-descended dynasty, which had embraced Persian culture when they first emerged in Central Asia. Upon conquering parts of northern India in the 16th century, they merged Persian, Turco-Mongol, and native Indian hunting traditions to create the hunting grounds known as shikaga, large fields and estates adorned with small palaces for Mughal elites to lounge in when they went on large hunting tours. The Mughal Shah and Shahs often took long holidays with their noble companions and armies. They participated in hunts of cheetahs and elephants, in events known as kamaga, or enclosure hunts. These events were highly theatrical, with servants managing hunting scenarios and preparing the animals for their ritualized slaughter at the hands of their royal hunters. After a long performance, the hunted prey would be surrounded by the nobles and their servants. Eventually, the Shah and Shah would come to the animal and slay it, claiming his victory. Apart from their recreational role, the shikaga hunting grounds were also early attempts at curating nature, making them a form of proto-nature conservation program, and demonstrating the Mughals' great achievements in combining nature and fun in their hunting pursuits. Reigning from 1556 to 1605, Emperor Akbar was one of the Mughal Empire's most prolific hunters. He would often go on long kamaga hunts and bask in the elaborate performance of the capture and murder of animals. He also used hunting as a political tool. An example of this was found in 1561 CE, when Akbar's foster brother Adam Khan was plotting a revolt against the Shah. Adam Khan had seized Malwa province for Akbar, but had used his control of the newly conquered region to establish his own center of power, in defiance of central Mughal authority. To counter this threat, Akbar took his army to the city of Sarangpur in Malwa. He pretended to merely be passing by on a hunt, going after leopards and other animals. However, upon reaching the city, he launched a sudden assault upon it. Adam Khan was utterly captured by surprise and immediately surrendered. Many other such stories appear in tales of Akbar's life, like putting down spontaneous revolts while on hunts. In these stories, Akbar is usually praised for his hunting prowess and also for his love of nature and magnanimity towards his subjects. These all show the highly theatrical connection between the Mughals and nature. The fourth hunting incident we will discuss comes from the ancient civilization of Persia, specifically in the Sasanian period. Hunting is an ancient tradition in Iran, where, as early as the Achaemenid period, princes were required to participate in the slaying of wild animals as part of their equestrian and martial education. According to the Greek historian Xenophon, the Achaemenid kings would often take many young aristocrats on their hunts to train them in the use of bow and arrow. In these instances, the Shah was always first to strike a beast, as he was meant to take precedence. This tradition continued in the Hellenistic and Parthian periods, spreading to Armenia and other parts of the Middle East. In the Sasanian period, kings and their noble companions conducted large, opulent hunts in their massive garden estates. On these occasions, large numbers of falconers, servants, and horses accompanied both elite men and elite women in their excursions in the wilderness of Iran. Many of these servants even carried saffron, which they used to perfume the air for the king and the princes who accompanied him. All these events are depicted in various hunting panels from Sasanian art throughout its reign, spanning the 3rd to 7th century CE. They showcase a culture rich in elaborate rituals and equestrian values deeply ingrained in Iranian society. Many hunting accidents are recorded in Achaemenid and Persian history. For instance, Herodotus of Halicarnassus, the so-called father of history of ancient Greece, mentions one such story. Herodotus claims that the Persian king, Darius I, once dislocated his ankle while on a hunt. Despite the best efforts of Egyptian physicians, they could not set the bone back in place, so Darius spent an entire week in excruciating pain. Salvation came in the form of the enslaved Greek doctor Democedes of Croton, who managed to fix his foot. Another story happened centuries later in the Sasanian period. This event, like the story of Archelaos, is of dubious historical reliability and involves the death of Bahram V, the Shah of Iran, who reigned from 420 to 438 CE. According to the Persian epic known as the Shahnameh, Bahram was a pivotal warrior who defeated 2 lions to demonstrate his capacity to rule. He also, apparently, died in a hunting accident. Some historians say that he died while chasing an onager, a half-donkey animal. He was out hunting one day when he spotted the fierce animal, which immediately began to run away. Bahram chased after the onager until he followed the beast into a cave and disappeared forever. In another version, the chase led him to a swamp where he became stuck and drowned. It should be noted that this is not the story that appears in the Shahnameh, where he is said to have died in his sleep. Regardless, the story of Bahram is typical of many Persian royals, deeply ingrained with hunting. Our final hunting incident takes us to the center of Europe, to the illustrious realms of the Franks, which illuminated the history of Western Europe. Frankish dynasties, such as the Merovingians and the Carolingians, were a product of the merging of late Roman and Germanic traditions, which included hunting as a recreational and noble pursuit. Both Germans and Roman nobles engaged in hunting for prestige. For the Frankish and Holy Roman nobles who inherited parts of both legacies, hunting was an expression of masculinity and royal splendor. Similar to the Mughals and Achaemenids we discussed previously, The Frankish rulers of the Holy Roman Empire instituted officers that managed royal parks where hunts took place. These functionaries ensured that the parks maintained their forested status and remained suitable for the kings to hunt boar and other large beasts. Hunts were political affairs, where politics was on full display, and where many conspiracies and murders took place. This phenomenon preceded the establishment of the Holy Roman Empire. For example, King Childeric II, who was king of the Franks between 673 and 675 CE, was murdered alongside his wife and 5-year-old child by enemy nobles near the city of Lognes. Others, like the famous Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne, were more fortunate, as they spent long lives hunting in peace with their companions, remaining so until old age. One rather famous accident from the Holy Roman Empire is the death of King Louis V, the Do-Nothing, the last emperor of the Carolingian dynasty, who reigned in the West Frankian kingdom from 986 to 987 CE. He ascended to the throne during a time of turmoil for the empire, as the Archbishop of Reims, Adalberon, and his wife, Queen Emma, were quarreling over whether the Franks should re-establish ties with the Saxon-Ottonian dynasty. Louis reigned for only a year and did not manage to resolve these struggles, for he died in a rather gruesome hunting accident. Here is how the contemporary chronicler, Richer of Saint-Remy, claims things went down. Louis subsequently sent his army away and went to Senlis. While hunting there during the summer, he fell when his foot slipped, and he suffered a tremendous blow to his liver. Because the liver produces the blood, as the physicians tell us, he began to hemorrhage violently from the injury. A torrent of blood poured out of his nostrils and his throat. His chest throbbed with constant pain, and an unbearable fever came over his entire body. On May 22nd, he succumbed and paid his debt to nature, having outlived his father by just 1 year. This was an unceremonious death, marking the end of the Carolingian dynasty in West Francia, which was then replaced by the Capetians. This brutal death marked more than the death of one king. It was the end of the Carolingian era. As we have seen, hunting in the ancient, medieval, and early modern worlds was an affair deeply intertwined with ritual, politics, natural conservation, and society. From ancient Greece to Byzantium, from Francia to India, hunting animals, especially by elites, was prone to hilarious, tragic, and downright brutal accidents. Each of these stories demonstrates important lessons about the past. They demonstrate how politics and hunting were often intertwined, as seen in the stories of Archelaos and Akbar. They also illustrate how the lives of even the mightiest emperors can be cut short by fate, as seen in the stories of John Komnenos and Louis V. Finally, they demonstrate the connection between humans and nature through hunting, as evident in the story of Bahram's death. One thing is certain: hunting shenanigans have always been, and will always be, a part of human history, for however long humans continue to hunt animals. More historical videos are on the way, so make sure you're subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see them. Please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. It helps immensely. Our patrons and YouTube members can watch more than 200 exclusive videos. Join their ranks via the link in the description or by pressing the join button under the video. To watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we'll catch you on the next one.